I never imagined I'd be the woman telling strangers on the internet how my husband left me for another woman. If someone had told me this story a year ago, I would have said that could never happen to us. Apparently, I was wrong. My husband, Mark, 35M, and I, 33F, had been married for 9 years. We had no kids by choice, two spoiled dogs, and what I thought was a stable life. We weren't perfect, but we rarely fought. We split chores, watched movies every Friday night, and even planned to buy our dream home. Then he started talking about a new coworker. At first, it was harmless. "Oh, Jessica is hilarious. Jessica brought homemade cookies today. Jessica stayed late to help finish the presentation." I didn't think twice about it. Adults have coworkers. I trusted him completely. Over the next few months, though, Jessica's name came up constantly. She understood his jokes. She liked the same TV shows. She loved hiking. She hated pineapple on pizza. It felt like I was hearing more about her than about his own family. One evening I joked, "Sounds like you spend more time talking about Jessica than me." He laughed. "Don't be ridiculous. She's just a coworker." I believed him. Then things slowly changed. He started guarding his phone. If I walked into the room, he'd flip it over. He suddenly needed a password on everything. Late-night work messages became normal. He began staying late at the office 3 or 4 nights a week. Whenever I asked if everything was okay, he'd sigh dramatically. "You don't trust me." Somehow, I ended up apologizing. Looking back, that's the part that makes me the angriest. He made me feel guilty for noticing obvious red flags. About 2 months later, I suggested we take a weekend trip together. He immediately said work was too busy. The very next weekend, I saw pictures online of several employees hiking together. Guess who was standing right next to him in every single photo? Jessica. He insisted it was just a team-building event. Again, I believed him. A few weeks later, everything finally fell apart. He came home unusually quiet. He sat at the kitchen table without even taking off his jacket. Then he said the sentence that completely changed my life. "I think I'm in love with someone else." I honestly thought I had misheard him. "What?" He rubbed his face. "I didn't plan this. It's Jessica." The room felt like it was spinning. I remember staring at my coffee mug because looking at him hurt too much. I asked the obvious question. "Are you having an affair?" His answer still makes my blood boil. "Not physically." He actually emphasized the word physically, like that somehow made him innocent. According to him, they had developed an emotional connection. He said they had feelings for each other. They talked every day. They understood one another. He felt alive. He even had the nerve to say, "I haven't felt this happy in years." Years? I had spent years supporting him through layoffs, panic attacks, family drama, and career changes. Apparently, none of that mattered anymore. He wanted a divorce. Just like that. No counseling. No therapy. No trying to fix things. He'd already made his decision. He moved into an apartment the following week. Within days, mutual friends quietly confirmed what I already suspected. He and Jessica were openly dating. So much for nothing physical. The divorce process was brutal. Not because we fought over money. Because every signature felt like another piece of my life disappearing. I cried in grocery stores. I cried in the shower. I cried because I found one of his old hoodies behind the closet door. Everything reminded me of him. The worst part wasn't losing my husband. It was losing the future I'd imagined. Birthdays, vacations, growing old together. Gone. Friends tried setting me up on dates. I wasn't interested. Instead, I started therapy. It was the best decision I ever made. My therapist said something that completely shifted my mindset. "You're grieving two people. The husband you lost, and the husband you thought you had." That sentence hit me like a truck. Because the man who left me wasn't the same man I married. The man I married would have fought for us. This version chose someone new because it felt exciting. So I stopped chasing answers. I joined a gym, started reading again, visited friends I hadn't seen in years, even took a solo vacation to the mountains. Little by little, I started smiling again. Then one afternoon, about 6 months after he walked out, I received a text from an unknown number. Hey, it's Mark. My stomach dropped. I had deleted his contact months ago. Against my better judgment, I opened the message. I know I probably don't deserve a response. You were right about everything. I made the biggest mistake of my life. A minute later, another text appeared. Can we please talk? I stared at the screen for nearly 10 minutes. 6 months. Not a single message while our marriage was falling apart. Not during the final divorce hearing. Not on my birthday. Not even a simple, I hope you're okay. No, suddenly, he wanted to talk. Curiosity got the better of me. I replied with one sentence. Why? His answer came almost instantly. Jessica and I broke up. Of course. I almost laughed. Not because it was funny, but because it was painfully predictable. He asked if we could meet for coffee. I figured hearing him out would finally give me the closure I never got, so I agreed. When I walked into the cafe, he looked different. He lost weight. His beard was messy. The confident man who had walked out of our marriage was gone. He stood up when he saw me. You look really good. I thanked him and sat down. For a few moments, neither of us spoke. Finally, he sighed. I messed everything up. I stayed quiet. I thought Jessica was my soulmate. Another pause. But once we started living in the real world, everything changed. Apparently, the relationship that had seemed perfect at work wasn't so perfect outside the office. They argued constantly. She hated how much he worked. He hated how impulsive she was with money. The little things they once found charming quickly became reasons to fight. Then he admitted something that caught me off guard. I realized I wasn't in love with Jessica. I raised an eyebrow. I was in love with a fantasy. That sentence explained everything. He hadn't traded our marriage for someone better. He'd traded reality for excitement. And once the excitement disappeared, reality came back. He looked down at his coffee. I miss our life, our home, our routines. I miss you. For a brief second, I felt sorry for him. Then I remembered crying myself to sleep while he was building a new relationship. I remembered signing divorce papers with shaking hands. I remembered him saying he'd never been happier. Sympathy faded quickly. He leaned forward. I know I don't deserve another chance, but if there's even a tiny possibility, I'll do anything. Counseling, date nights, transparency. He promised to quit his job. He promised to block Jessica forever. He promised he had changed. 6 months earlier, I would have done anything to hear those words. Now, they sounded strangely empty. I asked him one question. If Jessica hadn't left you, he froze. His silence lasted maybe 3 seconds, but it was enough. Eventually, he whispered, I don't know. That was my answer. He wasn't back because he suddenly realized my worth. He was back because his backup plan had failed. I smiled politely. Thank you for being honest. He looked hopeful. Then I said the words I never thought I'd be strong enough to say. I forgive you. His eyes filled with tears. But forgiveness isn't an invitation. His smile disappeared. I spent months rebuilding my life after you destroyed it. I learned how to be happy without you. I'm not going back. He started crying. Actually crying. I've never stopped loving you. I shook my head. No. You stopped loving me the day you chose someone else instead of fighting for our marriage. The cafe became completely silent around us. I stood up. He reached for my hand, but I stepped back. I truly hope you become a better person, but I won't be the reward waiting for you at the end. Then I walked away. I didn't look back. As I got into my car, I expected to feel devastated. Instead, I felt peaceful. For months, I wondered whether I'd ever be enough. That meeting answered the question. I had always been enough. He was the one chasing an illusion. A year has passed since that conversation. Life isn't perfect, but it's mine again. I adopted another rescue dog. I earned a promotion at work. I've made new friends, traveled more than I ever did while married, and even started dating someone recently. He's kind. He's honest. Most importantly, he never makes me question where I stand. As for Mark, I hear through mutual friends that he transferred to another company shortly after Jessica left. Apparently, he still asks about me from time to time. I wish him well. But some bridges aren't meant to be rebuilt. Sometimes the greatest act of self-love isn't getting the apology you wanted. It's realizing you no longer need it. TLDR. My husband left our 9-year marriage for a coworker he believed was his soulmate. 6 months later, after that relationship fell apart, he came back begging for another chance. I forgave him, but I refused to become his second choice. Walking away was the hardest decision I've ever made, and it turned out to be the best one.